Oh my goodness.
What's up guys, welcome back to Stauffer Garage. Today's detail is of a 2016 Ford Escape, and not only is this a friend of ours, but she is a mom of 2 kids, and they've been on a couple road trips, and the car is completely trashed. Let me just say it right now. The car is completely trashed, but you guys can tell from these before shots, it needs a complete transformation, so I'm gonna be pulling all the trash out. I might be able to pull out the front seats. I don't know if I completely have to yet, but we're gonna shampoo the carpets. We're gonna get everything wiped down. We're gonna make this car look like brand new again. So if you guys are new, hit the subscribe button below. And not only that, I have a huge announcement in today's video. I am launching my own line of detailing brushes. I have been working on this for months to figure out the best brush that I could possibly find, and you guys have seen in the recent videos those gray and red ones with those white bristles. So if you guys want to check them out, I'll have the link in the description box below. And remember that every brush set that I sell goes towards supporting this channel. I have a huge project that's going to need a ton of support. Pick up your own set of detailing brushes from Fox Clean. Support Stauffer Garage. We got our work cut out for us today, so let's go ahead and get started with this detail. So the first step, per usual guys, is get everything out of the car from underneath the seats, in the cup holders, in the trunk. Just get it all out of the way so that way you don't have anything blocking the way to figuring out how bad of a detail you have in front of you. Whenever I've detailed a car that's been kid trashed, it's always fun, which sounds weird, to see what is underneath the car seats. What you find, it's like a hidden treasure, and it's not like the nice kind of treasure that you want to find, but it's always fun to see what you're gonna find and what kids magically make appear underneath seats.
To get to you ain't gonna waste my time. I know that we got connection. I think about you, for you my love.
Now the one clip that disappeared from my footage, surprisingly, and I have no idea how, is inside these cup holders, these car seats, is rotten milk that has been sitting for about 3 or 4 days, and the car seats themselves needed to be cleaned. So towards the end, I go through those as well, but the smell was, you have no idea how bad it was. Once I moved it around, it just literally hit your nostrils and made you just want to gag. So once everything's out of the car, the first thing I'm going to do is go at the floor mats. The floor mats are going to be shampooed and they're going to be wet, and with us being in Cleveland during this detail, it's a little bit cold, it's a little bit windy, and the sun's kind of coming in and out, but I wanted to ensure that there was enough time for them to sit outside in the sun to dry out before I finish the rest of the vehicle.
'Cause I can't get you out of my mind. I can't live without your love for sure. You drive me crazy, tell me what to do, what to do. I'm on my knees, yeah, I am begging you, begging you. I'll break the rules if it won't get me.
Now for these floor mats, and one thing that I've started to do on a lot of my shampooing is I'm using a pre-treatment of Folex first, and I'm using that because it's really good with doing spot and stain removal, and it soaks in. It does a really good job at getting that initial soak in before I use my all-purpose cleaner and my spray wand to kind of soak the rest of the thing before I hit it with the drill brush. I feel like it's been helping kind of get some of those initial stains out that are easy to get out, and then using the actual drill brush to focus on some of the more severe stuff, and then following up with my extractor, which just has pure water.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Now sadly, I did not have hot water available to me, so for this detail, I feel like the floor mats could have been a little bit better, but just based on the conditions and everything else, it worked out extremely well, and I tried to do 2 passes, one in each direction, to ensure that I got as much of the dirt out and got them as clean as possible. typically whenever I do any floor mats or any carpet whatsoever that's outside of the vehicle, I try to do it on some sort of table, but in this case I forgot my table at home. I only had my small workbench, which wasn't adequate for this, so that's why I had to do it on the floor. But before I shampooed the carpets on the concrete, I actually vacuumed and swept it off. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I use my drill brush, making the patterns symmetrical is like the coolest thing and most rewarding thing. I know that's one of those like ASMR things, but regardless, doing the drill brush on the carpets is probably one of the coolest visual effects that I think in detailing. So now that the floor mats are out of the way, I'm moving to the trunk lid, and most trunk lids nowadays are plastic or some sort of like hard fiberboard, but the carpet on them is not your typical carpet. It's really, really thin. It literally catches everything and gets the dirt ingrained, and like God forbid you have sticks or anything that get back there because they get so embedded and ingrained in them. It's really, really hard to get them out. So what I like to do, regardless of the carpet that I'm doing, is use a hard bristle brush. And a drill brush could work for it as long as it's dry, but you're trying to essentially create a static charge that lifts that dirt to the surface, so when you hit it with your vacuum, you get majority of it out before you hit it with your extractor. With this specific type of carpet being so unique, you can kind of look at the lines that the extractor is leaving, and it seems like it might not be soaking up all the water, and it isn't because of just, I don't know how the fibers are made, but it doesn't have a lot of ability to suck air around the actual extractor piece itself. So for majority of the drying process, the sun will definitely take care of that. And here is the money shot of the water being poured out of the extractor, which I know you guys like to see. These floor mats actually weren't as dirty as I thought they would be. Now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to move to the inside of the car and get the vacuuming done. And like I mentioned, I'm using my detailing brushes for some of the easier dirt to move around to help with the vacuum cleaner. And I know a lot of people ask why I don't have one of those bristle brush attachment pieces for my vacuum. And for me, I just feel like it's almost more cumbersome to switch them in and out because you can't get into the different tight crevices and corners. And for this nozzle in particular, it's just the one that I've always used, and I've just felt that it's quicker for me. So I use this with a bristle brush, for whether it's the detailing brush or the harder bristle brush, to kind of get that dirt moving around in those corners along those plastic edges and seams to make it quicker. Now you can see here I'm trying to get the stuff underneath the seat, and I'm definitely struggling, so you know what that means. I'm going to have to go ahead and remove the rear bench to get all that dirt out. The problem is it's actually a lot more difficult than I thought it'd be. is taking way too long. But I have to, because there's so much stuff underneath here that you can't get to. These bolts in particular are hard to get to because what they did is you have to lean the seat forward a little bit just to get to them. Like, they really made this difficult. Well, that one's not coming off, but the good news is with the front one's off, it allows me to lift up the front seats. So I won't have to take the other side completely off. I can just take off the front portion of the bracket and tip it forward. So that's the good news. So like I mentioned, it actually worked out in my favor. Just undoing the front parts of the bench allowed me to tip them up. And then I'm actually using my shop light, which has these, hanger hooks on them, to get on the brackets. And then I'm putting it outside the back of the trunk and attaching it to the hitch. And it's keeping the seats up for me so that way I don't squish myself. So it worked out pretty well. And then you can see here the amount of debris that I was talking about that was stuck underneath the seats that needed to be cleaned. One thing you can see in the background is I actually lifted up the door sill plastic trim because there was goldfish they had got underneath it. That's one thing I recommend. Most panels on your interior just snap in together. Be gentle if you're trying to do that sort of thing, but most of the time they just pop right out, and you'll be surprised with the amount of dirt that collects along that edge. As I kept vacuuming this back row, I kept waiting and expecting to find that milkshake, like just embedded stain and just anything attached to the carpet fibers, but I was actually very surprised to find that the carpet underneath the seats and on the floors was spotless. Like, I didn't even have to do any extraction, which was completely mind-blowing considering the amount of stuff and dirt and kid goo and food and everything else that I found inside the car. So, awesome.
Watching it end again and again. I feel it in waves, you follow me, drifting to places I should leave, so close to the edge of something so perfect.
As you're vacuuming inside the car, one thing I recommend is just vacuum inside those door sills, because you'll be surprised with the amount of dirt that gets in there, and especially once you're wiping down and trying to clean them off later on, you're gonna get your microfiber towel all gummed up with that dirt anyways, and that's not what you want to do, obviously. So go ahead and just vacuum inside those door panels to try to get anything loose that's in there out of the way. Now that all the vacuuming's done, I'm gonna go through all of the door panels and interior trim. And on the door panels in particular, I'm just using my all-purpose cleaner, my bristle brush, to get the panel clean, following up with invisible glass for the actual windows on the inside and outside. And then I'm just using Chemical Guys Silk Shine as my top coat on my plastic panels, which you guys know this whole process already. But if you didn't, all of those products are in the description box below to make your panels look like new. And if you don't have any brushes or anything that you use with your detail, I think the one main benefit to any sort of bristle brush is on every plastic panel or interior trim, they seem to have these textures that are sometimes hard to get the dirt off with just a towel. And that's where kind of using your brush to kind of agitate and get that dirt, anything that's in those different textures, moving around so that way when you do wipe it off, it comes off easily. Now that all the panels are done, we're going to move to the actual shifter center console area, which majority of center consoles in the cup holders, there are typically rubber sleeves or inserts at the very bottom. And I recommend pulling those out first, cleaning those off, which I didn't do in this part of the video. Surprisingly, I actually forgot to do it first. But pull them out, wipe them down first, and then use your bristle brush to get inside those cup holders and those pockets to get the remaining dirt out of the way. also, when you're doing your shifter, have the key on you so that way you can put the car in neutral or park and pull that shifter all the way back to get the remainder of the shift boot that you wouldn't typically do if you just left it in the park position. Now I'm going to continue the process throughout the rest of the interior, and then I had one of these moments that happen ever so often, and I about lost it because if my camera broke I would have been completely screwed because I didn't have any backup cameras. But the wind was so strong that day that the door actually slammed shut, knocked over my expensive camera, and when it hit the ground, somehow miraculously, I didn't break anything. It just kept recording, and I put it back up and kept on detailing. But whew.
Start it up.
Now the last step for the inside up top, I'm going to be cleaning the windshield with just using 2 microfiber towels and invisible glass, and then I'm moving on to the leather seats, which for the leather seats I'm using my bristle brush and then the Lexol Twin, so the Lexol cleaner and conditioner, to clean the seats and then condition them afterwards with my application pad. The one thing that I recommend if you missed it earlier is if you're cleaning your seats or doing any sort of leather conditioning, make sure you do a good job in the vacuuming stage to get all of the dirt out between the different cracks and then on the edges. So that way when you're doing your cleaning or conditioning, you don't have to worry about any of that dirt coming loose and then getting in your towel and just kind of making a mess. For the back row, it's a different story. Because there is so much goo from the car seats and the kids on the seats themselves, I'm just using my all-purpose cleaner to completely wipe down the seats, and then I'm following up with Chemical Guy Silk and Shine as that last top coat for these rear leather seats.
Start it up.
Now that the car is completely clean, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble that second row, rebolt it back in, put in those trim pieces, and then I'm going to clean the car seats. And I'm just using a little bit of all-purpose cleaner around the different buckles and connectors with my bristle brush to get those clean, along with the cup holders. And then I'm using Folex on the fibers, and I'm not using a ton, but the cool thing about Folex is when you spray it on any fabrics or carpets, it actually, when you agitate it, you can see it lightening up and cleaning any of the dirt. It's part of the chemical process, but it's a really awesome product that you should definitely check out if you're trying to do any stain removal.
Holy cow. It has never been this clean. Can you teach Adam all your tricks?
I need to. He just needs to watch the video at the end of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, take some notes. He needs to buy you a beer and dinner and like take a gas for driving up here today. You did amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Not only was the customer's reaction priceless, but here are the before and after shots of the transformation. The car literally looked brand new afterwards. And make sure you guys stick around to the very end of this video because I have a teaser of the upcoming series that I need to make sure you guys don't miss out on because it's going to be insane. So if you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, become part of Stauffer Garage crew, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.